Imagine that you find a beautiful Disney princess from your wildest dream inside a tower, who has never been outside. Rapunzel, a timid young girl who never met anyone except her mother, meets someone unexpected, and her fate changes forever. The story begins where we get a glimpse of a tall, well-made tower, which was located far away in a forest. In the highest room lived a timid young girl with long, beautiful hair. Her beauty and charm would stun anyone who laid their eyes on her, but she never in her life went or ventured outside these walls. All her life she remained inside that tower, glancing outside and wondering what outside would look like. She made a special promise to someone who made her swear that no matter what happened, she was not to go outside under any circumstances. The tower was owned by a wicked witch who was known for her elegance and magic. Her curses could end anyone who ever dared to stand in her way. She was somewhat attached to this girl and told her that the outside world is filled with unimaginable misery and wickedness, and terrible, frightening things linger in every step. She told the girl to never dream of leaving this tower, and while calling her name, she made sure that the girl, Rapunzel, was never to go out. As time went on, she never ever laid her foot outside and swore to never leave, no matter what. One fateful day, she was staring outside the window and smiled at a bird who sat on her finger. From afar, someone approached the tower and climbed it with brute force and strength, making his way to the top slowly and steadily. As he struggled to maintain his grip, he climbed to the window, which surprised him, and he sat there, catching his breath. As he glanced ahead, he saw a beautiful, innocent, and gentle girl clenching her fist, shocked to see her second human in her whole life, and the boy muttered, "Rosa." As the girl remained still and in complete disbelief, she made sure to capture every detail of his next actions, and as she pushed herself back, she fell on her face, as she was already near the edge of the bed, and the boy exclaimed, "Whoa there!" The boy was not there to rob or anything. Rather, he was a mischievous young boy, and there was an old legend in his village about the great northern forest beyond the thorny thicket where no one dared to go. Rumors in his village said that there was a tower of a witch, and he was out to search for this particular mystery that shook everyone in his village. Although he seemed elegant and noble, he was just an ordinary boy who loved climbing trees, and exploring was something that thrilled him. We get to the present, where it seemed that his exploration came to an end, as his village was indeed right about a tower that belonged to the witch, and there he found someone that didn't quite resemble a wicked witch. She fell, and with concern, the boy asks if she was okay. Without any pause or anything, she stutters and yells at him, asking about his identity while holding a broom to defend herself. He reassures her that he is not here to harm her, and was just exploring the forest when he saw this tall tower and instinctively tried to climb it since he loves climbing. In distrust, she mutters what he said when he first met her. He answers and lets her know that there is someone who looks just like her, and he couldn't help but mutter that name. With a pissed expression, she tells him that she is no Rosa, but her name is Rapunzel, as she said this while clenching a broom. Their conversation starts, and she asks if he was here to look for this Rosa person that he muttered, and he replies that Rosa is not a person, rather, it is a multiflora, a kind of flower. As Rapunzel has never been outside, she asks him with a serious tone if that is edible. He finds this strange, and with a loud expression, he asks if she has never been outside and checked for herself the type of different blooming flowers that nature has to offer. With a trembling and weak voice, she replies that she has never been outside. As the boy's eyes widen to hear this, Rapunzel adds that she had promised her mother, a witch, that she would never leave this tower and that there are scary and dangerous things outside, as she said this while making a troubled expression. Without saying anything, he leaps out of the window, telling her that there is something he needs to show her. As he left, he peeks again and reminds her that the witch she told him about earlier is not really right about everything, and then he jumped into the forest. Worried that he might die, she checks if he is still alive, but rather than calling or anything, she slams the door shut quickly and lets out a big sigh of thankfulness, as this was her first experience with someone else, and it was also the most difficult. Suddenly, someone calls out her name, and she startles. There stands a tall, slim, and attractive woman looking at Rapunzel. She notices that Rapunzel was flustered, and we couldn't really see her face, but she noticed something as Rapunzel made an excuse about a bee that was trying to enter. It seems like the excuse worked, and she praised herself. The witch tells her that a bee shouldn't really harm you unless you threaten or anger it. Saying this, she tells her to eat something and then leaves. Thanking herself, Rapunzel glares at the other window one more time, thinking to herself that he is, in fact, not back. A thought comes to her mind that if he was all talk and found her weird, but she notices 2 beautiful flowers on the bed. As she picks them up, she mutters to herself that these flowers are for me. As he warns her about the thorns, she panics, and both start to talk to each other. He adds that you do like it, and she was stunned by them. It seems that she had no idea what was outside the wall, and if there were flowers like these. As this moment became something very important for her, as he was about to leave, she couldn't help but ask for his name. As he glanced back, he told her that his name is Mikkel, and he is the son of a blacksmith Rydell. As he left, it seemed like she would never meet him again, but his visits became normal, as he found comfort and was attracted to her innocence, and she herself couldn't stop hearing the tales he had to share. Slowly their bond became stronger, with each day bringing them closer than ever. It came to the point where she would gaze outside the window patiently waiting for his return. One day, Mikkel came to the tower and saw Rapunzel crying her eyes out, and in panic, he asked what happened. She showed him the flower he gave her with so much love, were withered, and tears kept rolling from her eyes as it was very important to her. "My precious flower," she kept muttering, and she blamed it on the promise she broke with the Madam Witch. In a comforting voice, he tells her that there is no need to cry, Rapunzel, as outside there are more flowers than you can ever count. As he raises his hand toward her and proposes that she trust him, she breaks the promises she made with the witch, and while trembling, she holds on to Mikkel, and she went outside the tower for the first time in her life. Mikkel tells her to hold tight and close her eyes, and slowly he moved down. Fearing to open her eyes, Mikkel tells her that the yearning and wait are over, Rapunzel. As he grabbed her hand and introduced everything to her, she saw the real world that she had always dreamt of. The fresh and bright morning ray of light fell on her face, and she exclaimed to see something so beautiful and natural that she thanked her life for. Mikkel took her to a garden filled with all types of flowers that one could imagine, and she stopped shaking. Mikkel told her that now that you are here, you can pick as many flowers as you can. Without saying anything, she hugged him, as she completely fell for him. As their love blossomed and defied fate itself, both of them wished to each other that if this moment were to end, they would beg the deity to repeat it over and over. Time brought them to the stage where she would go out with him, and she thought of him as the world. One day, she complains that she has almost explored everything that surrounded them and told Mikkel that she would like to meet his family and visit his village. While praising her growth from a scared little timid girl to a confident person, he smiled and told her that he is proud of the girl he fell in love with and adds that he would love her to visit his family and village as well. As he agreed, she jumped on the bed so vigorously. Her cute face had a wide smile, and she hugged him, thanking him. As he kept staring at her, she blushed, and it seemed like she had fallen for everything that he does, from every action, every word. She loved everything that he did for her. She carefully planned to sneak out just the day before the witch left for the city and return after some time, and this would definitely help her explore everything there. Thus, their long journey began, and each step was like a fairy tale for her, even though she had been with him for a while. She would never get tired of all the experiences that she had with him. In her heart, she would always wish for this moment to never end and prayed to God that please let me stay with this man for the rest of eternity. With a calm voice, Mikkel brought her closer to the village, and her eyes were absolutely filled with excitement and thrill. As they approached, all the happiness, joy, and fun that she had crumbled to pieces as she saw something that no human should see for themselves. Her pure innocent eyes widened, and she left begging and yearning for mercy when she saw the sight in front. Mikkel, with a confident voice, told her, "Do you like my village? It is small and peaceful. Nobody here makes a lot of noise." As he was saying this and pushing her somewhere, it seemed like Rapunzel was stunned and resisted. As he saw her trembling and almost wetting herself, he asked why she was frozen and if she was afraid to meet new people for the first time. Then someone approached them, and Mikkel noticed and told her, "Let me introduce you to my uncle that you will absolutely love." As tears formed in her eyes and she was grasping for air, she saw a mutilated person infused with roots so painful that it regrew the head of the person to 3 times its original size. There were no eyes whatsoever, and inside there was nothing but hollowness. From the look of it, it was clear that they were dead, and their flesh had become rotten, years and years ago. They had no life or anything. She stood there begging for her life, and suddenly everything that she planned and prayed for all fell short. The horrible monster muttered something, and as it glared at her with its dead eyes, and in closer view, it seemed like it was grasping for air so desperately that it sounded painful. Then Mikkel broke the ice and told her, "I will need to introduce you to my uncle myself." Rapunzel muttered his name, asking him what is going on and why are you doing this. The monster suddenly woke up and glared at her with its horrifying eyes, and with its bruised, smelly, and injured arm, grabbed her by her shoulder and jumped on her, ready to bite her in an instant. Mikkel noticed, and smacked the monster with a plain stick that he found right next to him and guiltily stood next to the monster, and shared that his uncle was a bit shy and hardly opens up to strangers in their first encounter. While smiling, he tells her that with time, you will start to realize what a good person he really is, and he tries to give her the stick and tell her to whack him if he ever misbehaves to you, and this way, he will behave. Unable to contain her emotions, she dashes with everything she had, while tears fell from her eyes and she let out a big scream. As Mikkel asked what happened to her, he is stunned to see her run away and mutters to himself, "What is going on with her? Wasn't she the one who wanted to see the outworld properly once in her life?" As he said this with a dead expression, he glances back and tells the monsters to relax and adds that she is on their side, although she is a bit shy with strangers. And as we get a side view that shocked the entire ground from Rapunzel's perspective, we see that the entire village was a monster den where mutilated villagers and adults stood there and crouched, sitting and waiting to eat flesh once they settled down, and they could feast. Far away from their village, someone was burning something, and the nearby people complained about the hideous smell. There, a person asked his followers if this corpse was the last one, and with a confident tone, one of the soldiers reassured him that this was indeed the last one. As they were leaving, he added another command, but our view zoomed out, and we saw that dozens and dozens of heads were attached to spikes. It seemed like they were the monsters from earlier, and a cold breeze moved their thorns, creating an evil atmosphere. The thunderous sound of strong horses echoed as the commander from earlier was leading his people with a dead expression. It is certain that he slaughtered everything in his sight, and would chew anything that troubles him. In total fear for her life and realizing that nothing she once believed in was true, Rapunzel dashed so fast that she never looked back. While panting for air, she remembered why Mikkel mentioned that any normal people would need to wear extra protective shoes in order to come close to the tower she lived in, and the thorns on the ground would puncture so deep into the flesh that it would make it impossible to move. As she ran, remembering how she had this conversation with Mikkel, she finally understood why the witch guarded her. Suddenly, she got entangled with a thorn and fell to the ground hard. While grunting in pain and with tears overflowing, she decided to catch her breath as it became harder to run. As she looked ahead of her, she remembered that this was the place that Mikkel brought her months ago and became their favorite place where they cherished some memories. As she started to cry and weep for her luck, she couldn't stop while grunting and breaking down from inside, asking him why he had to lie to her so badly. From one of the thorns, her knee was cut, and blood spurted out. Instantly, from the sensation of the blood, roots appeared from the side, alerting her, as these were the same roots that covered the faces of all the monsters that she just saw. A beautiful flower emerged from it. It felt harmless at first, and slowly turned to something indescribable. There, she saw something so unbelievable and disturbing that her core was detached from everything, and she was sure that hell was this place right here. It seemed that the monsters were ready to suck on the blood that came from her legs, and she ran and ran, realizing that the only person who cared for her was the witch who was guarding her all this time and protected her from literal hell. While running, she begged for her apology and called out to her name. On the other hand, Mikkel calls out to Rapunzel, and after countless calls, he realizes that she has gone somewhere that will be hard to spot. Thinking about the thorny thicket and paths, he worried that it might hurt her. As he said this, he questioned why she looked so scared while running away from his village and pondered to himself that it is almost nightfall, and if she gets injured by the thicket, she won't really be able to get treated. As he showed genuine concern for her, he was determined to bring her back and return her to the tower immediately. As he made his way through some bushes, Michael's eyes widened to see an alarming sight. Dozens of monsters were ruthlessly slain, and big weapons were inside them, and a foul smell was all over the place. In total disbelief, he questioned who could have been so merciless to the harmless village. He was caught off guard by one moving monster that had a white top, and he exclaimed, "Auntie!" while running toward it, and asked if she was okay and what had happened to the village while he was gone for some time. From behind, a sharp, aggressive swing came as he was asking. The swing detached the head of the infected in two with such speed and power that all Mikkel could grasp with his eyes was the flying head. While his eyes processed this, the head smashed to the ground, and Mikkel cried out to the person, yelling, "Why did you do that?" Someone called Mikkel from behind and asked what the hell he was doing there. As his eyes widened, he glanced back to see the man who had slain her auntie in 2 pieces. Speechless, he reflected on the dress and sword, which resembled the dress code of a supreme knight of the kingdom, and with a threatening voice, he asked if they had harmed him and added that his safety was yet assured, and he must get away from the monster right this instant. Hearing this, Mikkel got ticked off and asked in an angry tone, "What do you mean by a monster?" and told him that this person was a family member to him whom he cherished a lot, and she didn't deserve to die. As the knight stood there with a disgusted expression and dead look, he questioned Mikkel if he had just said a normal person and family member. He drew his long sword out, and questioned again if he considered this to be his family. The next second, he slid the sword into the head of the monster, and displayed it close to Michael's face, where he realized that the auntie whom he had made up in his mind was nothing but an illusion, and he threw up from the foul smell and appearance. The knight muttered to himself, "You are that type of person," and while throwing away the head, he told Mikkel, "You appear to be normal, and I mistook you for a normal civilian myself, but it seemed like you are a much more lost cause than these pieces of trash here." As he said this with a threatening voice and stance, immediately Michael's body and every cell in his body alerted him of something, and he tried to flee, hearing those unfinished sentences. He dashed for his life, leaving everything there, and the knight slashed his side with the sword, going through the soft organs and nerves. While continuing the thrust, he cut him in 2 pieces. Blood spurted from both sides. Mikkel didn't even have the chance to fight back or process the immense pain itself, and in disbelief, he muttered to himself, "I can't feel my legs," as his body rotated, his head seeing his own torso standing there. The knight, facing the other way after the attack and while leaving, gave Mikkel another look. While his followers alerted the knight, as his people approached him closer, asking if it was the right time to return and regroup with His Highness, the knight told them that there was something that he needed to take care of before they did so. While pulling out a pistol, he pointed the barrel of the gun right next to Michael's face and told him, "This is just for safety measure. The type of your germ tends to give a lot of trouble." As he said this chilling line, he shot Mikkel in the head, destroying it all. There, Michael's life was over, and the knight blew the smoke from his gun and muttered that this weapon is the most crude and ruthless one. While alerting his followers, he told them that there seemed to be a scream of a woman that came from afar and added that she ran deep into the forest. They must pursue her and capture her if needed. As he said this, all the soldiers reaffirmed and started to leave. While Mikkel lay there, twitching from the gunshot wound on his right eye, and during his last moment, he remembered the smile of Rapunzel and thought to himself that this is the place where he will be dying, and questioned himself what they will be doing to her. Will they be killing her in the same way as well? As he thought of this, his eyes began to close rapidly, and he could not keep them open. There, Mikkel drew his last breath. However, fate was cruel to him, and vines and thicket were attracted to his blood and ravaged him as he tried to fight them with the little strength he had. Just near his dead body, 2 soldiers were checking the remaining corpses and making sure to leave no one alive, as their knight in charge told them so. Both complained about the harsh, creepy forest that scared the living crap out of them, and one of the soldiers reflected that Lord Cruz treats us like dirt and trash. The other wondered if the scream earlier was of a woman. As both started to ponder about the girl, it seemed that they were more than interested. As they walked, they saw the dead body of Mikkel with vines all over him. One of the vines grabbed the lost eye of Mikkel and formed a grip around it. While they both talked, one of the soldiers' attention was grabbed by something, and as he ignored everything the other said about the cursed human, they went into a panic mode to see a large number of vines coming out of Michael's body, and there Michael's body kept resisting and moved towards the soldiers while smiling. It was almost nightfall, and the mission to clear the monsters was almost done. The knight was able to carefully track down the steps of the girl and asked his soldier if they were certain about the footprint. The soldier stuttered a bit, which ticked off the knight. He grabbed the man by his collar and threatened him, saying, "Listen, you useless piece of flesh, you need to report accurate facts to me, or else I will bathe in your blood if you dare to waste His Highness's time." In total fear for his life, the soldier begged and told them in a trembling voice that he was certain of the footsteps. Someone called the knight from behind, and he let go of the soldier and immediately knelt down and began his report, telling the person that they had discovered footprints of someone followed by a trail of blood. He added that he was certain that these footprints belonged to some girl. The other person reflected on how much pain and hurt the poor girl must be in, and told the knight that they must locate and shelter her no matter what. The knight told him that the night was almost here. As he was about to finish his sentence, 2 monsters that resembled something that Rapunzel encountered earlier attacked them, and without any hesitation, the knight struck them down with ease and speed, making sure that not even a single fly could get near him and harm him in any way. As his swing literally ended them, he glanced back and told His Highness that the curse was deeply infected throughout the forest, and there may be danger. Ignoring everything, the prince praised the swift blade and agility of Cruz and insisted on looking for the girl, adding that his loyal citizen needed him, and he could not just abandon them no matter what. As Cruz realized that the goodwill of the prince was unchangeable, they made their way deep into the forest, looking for Rapunzel. Rapunzel, on the other hand, had no idea where she was, and while shivering from the things she encountered earlier, she held herself together and sat there hurt and fearful. In her heart, she begged for her Madam Witch to save her, reflecting that she now understood why the witch would always forbid her from going outside the wall and tower. As she cried more, she begged her. Suddenly, from the side, a rustling sound came, and as she heard that, she remained there stunned and completely powerless. Then someone approached her, wearing elegant clothes, and let out a sigh of relief. We zoom out to see the prince and Cruz, who managed to locate her, and he asked if she was okay. In disbelief and fear, she guarded herself, unable to believe anything that she saw, and the prince reassured her that there was nothing to be afraid of, beginning to introduce himself to her in a mannered way, telling her that she was able to run all the way from the cursed village and they were here to help her, and they were able to trace her by her footprint. He reassured her that everything would be okay now and offered his help to treat her injury. She asked who he was, and he introduced himself to be Guillaume von Einbach, the first prince of the Einbach royal family. Immediately she remembered that he was the one that Mikkel told her about, and tears began to overflow as she remembered the things she went through today. As she cried, the prince noticed her face and comforted her, telling her, "You poor little thing." As he signaled the knight and the others to move back, they turned their backs, and the prince added that there was no need for her to worry about anything, and from this time onward, he would protect her from all harm. As he said these reassuring words, Rapunzel could barely believe it and asked if he would really do that. As he smiled, he told Rapunzel in a very chilling manner to strip naked now. As he said this, with a serious tone, all his comforting words ended, and she muttered, "What did he just say?" He mocked her, telling her, "Isn't it obvious?" As he said this, he touched her, while smirking, saying that they were going to become one in flesh and she was going to be his. As she realized his intention, She pushed him back and let out a scream, and he grabbed her knee and told her that it is not every day that you see a charming prince love a normal girl so passionately. As he said this, he glared at her in a predatory manner, adding that it is a dream for most women to just smell a prince. She began to cry and beg for help, and he pushed himself a bit on her, and she called out for Mikkel. The prince added, "Isn't Mikkel that village boy you were with, killed by Cruz?" She muttered and asked if his lover was okay, and the prince pointed toward the knight and told her, "This man right here cleaved him right into 2 pieces. As she was stunned by these words, he mocked him, saying that that boy was cursed and they couldn't do anything, and in the next second, he slapped Rapunzel hard, telling her, "You better watch your manners, you dared to speak another man's name in front of your loving husband." As this was Rapunzel's first time getting hurt so many times, she lay there almost dead from the inside, and the prince started to undress himself, adding, "You really are a beauty. I have already tasted every woman in the capital, but no one comes closer to you." Then he tells her that depending on how you fare, he might consider making her a consort, so enjoy and be a good girl. As he said this, a sudden whoosh sound came from the side and lodged inside the head of a person, instantly killing him. As the prince himself stopped to look back, Rapunzel saw blood of someone else for the first time in her life. The dead man dropped to the ground, bleeding, and all the other soldiers panicked and asked what had just happened. Cruz told the prince to watch out as it seemed like there was a survivor among the village, and the prince complained that his good time was just about to start. Another sword flew into the head of the person standing right next to him, instantly killing him as well, and now even the high and mighty knight was wary. Rapunzel moved back as everyone's attention was on the attacks, and the prince added that the knight had gotten very sloppy and told him to just finish this already. As Rapunzel was about to flee, the prince noticed and stepped on her knee hard, telling her in a threatening tone that the thought of her fleeing was something that made him want to injure her other leg, after which he would punish her the hardest. As he said this while drawing his sword to actually inflict an injury to her leg, the prince's sword hit something so hard that his sword went flying out of his hand, and he didn't even get to react or process in time, muttering that there must be something that is trying to protect her as he glanced at his hand, which shook from the impact. The prince mocked the attacks and challenged him to reveal himself if he wanted the girl as well. As he said this, a weak voice came from the side, muttering Rapunzel's name in a slow and cracking voice. As she immediately recognized this voice to be Michael's, she called out to him as she looked at him. Her eyes couldn't believe the thing in front. There, Mikkel was trembling, and there was blood all over his face. He slowly approached her, and the prince finally got to see the face of her lover and told Rapunzel that her lover was quite attached to her, mocking that they surely hadn't even slept together with each other. As he said this, Rapunzel, already terrified of the things that happened earlier, now felt that the only solution she thought she had was gone as well. Mikkel, who was normal when she left him, was a monster himself, as vines covered all of his face. Despite that, he smiled and tried to touch his lover in that hideous form.